There is a complete madness in the world these days, which I think is hurting our children. There's a lemming-like adherence to leaping and then admiring the view on the way down over climate and various other woke causes. However you want to express it, we're actually being led down a very reactive path. You know, act now, think later. There's no consequences for the ridiculous waste of money on climate action and renewable projects, which are actually ignoring cheap fossil fuel energy options or perhaps the new nuclear energy technologies. And the debt that's being clicked up, and I don't think it's ever going to be paid off in an economy of rising costs and rising prices with no tangible focus on the long-term future or on any new industries or where Australia is actually going to be a generation from now. Government has no ambition. The short-term approach of government has a knack for trendy political handouts, but there's no trust for the affected people who actually just want to keep more of their money to invest in their children and their future. It's a time where everything is said to be unprecedented. The weather, the economy, the latest flu, political debate, now even in the royal family. Frankly, all of these issues actually distract us from thinking with confidence about the long term. And our children are feeling our fear. The short-term approach is like panic buying a toy to appease a screaming toddler at the checkout. It exploits the moment, takes a chunk out of your confidence and really, frankly, creates despair. But most parents, I hope, think long-term when having and raising their children. Most of us hope they will have a better life, more opportunities, avoiding our mistakes, enjoying things in an ever-changing world. And giving our children hope for the future is, frankly, one of the things common in humanity across all cultures. Yet we're allowing our so-called political leaders, so many media and entertainment personalities, too many religious leaders, corporate leaders and social influencers to talk down our future, to give the impression our children just simply don't have a chance. It's wrong to discourage. We need to encourage our children. Yet we offer homage to hysteria peddled by Greta Thunberg and David Attenborough and all these climate crisis fearmongers. Even the folks at 4X Beer, they're now peddling the notion of saving the planet to ensure beer supply.
But this moment of divine perfection relies on a precarious equilibrium, a perfect balance that needs protecting. Because if the system goes out of whack, crops die, which means hops die, which means beer dies.
More on that later, but it's even indoctrinated in our classrooms where undereducated teachers seem to deliberately dumb down the next generation of students. And there's a lot of great teachers who don't, but there seems many who do, as the education system has become more the indoctrination system. Great teachers encourage students how to learn. Bad teachers coerce students into what to learn. Students get marked down for resisting this climate change doctrine. How dare you question it? Convinced the world is burning up, so many children now are violently rebelling, believing the future is a kind of Mad Max meets Fast and the Furious. And now King Charles has predicted that the end is nigh. He's been doing it for decades. And sadly, his most promising son, Prince William, well, he's been tutored personally by Lord David Attenborough about climactic catastrophe. You can imagine the conversation never went like this. Your Highness, there will be no planet left by the time you're due to be king, so just don't bother. No, the heir to the throne is actually preparing for the throne. William is taking a long-term view and even perfecting the preparations for his son George, who's going to come next. So why does Attenborough and co offer such a negative view of the future to the rest of us? Could there be one message for the elites and a different one for we plebs? Meanwhile, the spare, Prince Harry, well, he's far from thinking long-term. His jealousy tantrum in the media to flog his book is setting his own children up for a miserable future. If Harry and Meghan were less about the short-term cash flow and more about the problems they're actually creating for Archie and Lilibet, then they would have chosen a different approach. Frankly, it's self-indulgent, childish. It's a tantrum approach to inflict the anguish that's going to be visited on both of their children, grandchildren, of the king in decades ahead. These children deserve better, yet they're isolated from family. They're going to face dreadful schoolyard taunts, media scrutiny as they grow up, all because of the action of their parents. Archie and Lilibet, like all children, deserve optimism. Hope delivers a better future, while bitterness creates despair. Hardly what a responsible parent should bequeath their children, a negative, hostile view of the world. The royal family isn't bad, the world isn't burning up, it isn't going to end, so those creating such distress in the minds of any or all of our children deserve condemnation.